Good evening, everyone. Be starting in just a few seconds here. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. So in a recent talk, I spoke about the importance of causality or conditionality, and I want to look at it today from one more angle. The relation of the idea of dependent arising in its general sense to the three characteristics, the tilakkhana. The three characteristics, like the Paticcasamuppada, is one of the core teachings, one of the foundation stones of Buddhist thought. So it's a way of understanding the nature of conditioned reality. The three characteristics apply to all conditioned things without exception. And these are dukkha, anicca, anatta. Dukkha is usually translated as suffering, although a lot of commentators have pointed out this is not a fully adequate translation. It works roughly in some contexts, and in others it does not. The English word suffering as a translation for dukkha fails on two counts. First, it's too narrow in that every experience, every conditioned thing is dukkha, but not everything is suffering in the sense of the English word. We do have, in our experience, we do have painful experiences, but we also have pleasurable experiences and a great many neutral experiences that are neither pleasant nor painful. But these are all dukkha. So dukkha has many connotations. Imperfection, brokenness, unsatisfying nature, and so on. And none of which perfectly captures the meaning of the word. The other problem, the second problem with using the word suffering for dukkha, is that the word suffering is entirely subjective, but dukkha is inherent in the objects themselves. It's not something that we impose upon the object with our mind. And we wouldn't say that an inanimate object like a stone is experiences suffering, but it is dukkha. I think there's an error of thought that sometimes can happen where we take that subjective aspect and believe that dukkha is not inherent in reality, but is some kind of a flaw in our mind. So dukkha, in its broad sense, let's say it's imperfect nature of all phenomena, the brokenness, the inability to satisfy, etc. Anicca is impermanence or transience. It's the nature of all things to change and to come into being and to go out of being, that nothing is stable, nothing persists. at the finest green level, which is the analysis of abhidhamma, anicca is conceived as being momentary. Nothing persists for more than a moment. There's only an illusion of continuity because succeeding moments resemble one another to a large degree. But even at a less atomic level, we see impermanence all the time in all phenomena, in our bodies, in our thoughts, in the world around us. Everything is changing, everything is in flux. Nothing can endure. The third characteristic is anatta, not self, which is a special case of the more general principle of sunya or sunyata, the emptiness or voidness of all phenomena. Whereas anatta particularly points to the emptiness or voidness of a person. Of the three characteristics, this is the most profound and the one that's least intuitive at first approach. It's also the one teaching that's really peculiar or special to Buddhism, that distinguishes the Buddhist doctrine from any other philosophy or religion in India, or indeed outside of India. The teaching on emptiness or voidness is a special teaching of the Buddha. It can be understood as a teaching of a lack of substantiality, and on a level of ontology, I think this is the most fruitful approach, to think of it as meaning lack of substantiality or lack of inherent essence. In the Indian philosophic language, the essence of a thing is called swabhava, own essence. And it was generally held in most schools of Indian philosophy that any object or phenomena had a svabhava to which was fixed, to which various changeable qualities adhere. It's a very parallel conception in Greek philosophy with Aristotle, who used that language of essence and qualities. But in Buddhism, there is no own essence. We could say that no swabhava exists in the old Indian sense, although some abhidhamma texts do use the word swabhava in with a completely different context and meaning. The idea of an own essence, a substantial essence in things, is eliminated. There are only the changeable qualities, but they don't adhere to any fixed point or entity. Now, all three of these characteristics relate to one another, and they all also can be framed in the language of dependent arising, of interdependence of phenomena. Dukkha, as I said, one of the ways of understanding dukkha is as brokenness. If every manifest phenomena in existence of body, mind, internal, external, is ultimately a result of the interplay of multiple causes and conditions constantly interacting, then the result is always a kind of imperfect mixing or melding of these different forces. The interplay of various phenomena constantly changing, constantly impacting on any object. The object itself has no inherent essence. This is the emptiness factor. It only exists as an interplay of different phenomena. So this itself is dukkha. There is this kind of rubbing or stressing of the point of intersection. Interestingly, the well-known translator Bhikkhu Thanissaro, he prefers to use the word stress to render dukkha. And he explains in one place, this is, in some ways, this is an unfortunate choice because people misinterpret it and they think of it as stress in the psychological sense, which would make it too subjective, like suffering. But he explains in one place, in one of his writings, I think in a footnote, that what he actually means is stress in the engineering sense. Like you have in a bridge, you might have a vertical and horizontal member bearing on each other, stressing one another, and you have to calculate the stresses to make it strong enough. So everything that exists is constantly stressing against everything else. There's a constant rubbing and pushing and pulling. And this is the dukkha in the sense of stress. Which would not occur in a completely self-contained, self-standing entity. But there are no such things in reality. There is no self-contained, self-reliant entity anywhere. Everything is a result of other things, so there's always this constant stress, this push and pull. And this is meaning of dukkha in terms of conditionality. In Nietzsche, we see the impermanence in the constant flux of the causes and conditions. The causes and conditions themselves are not fixed powers or entities in their own right. They are themselves in an infinite regress. Each condition, each cause, each force acting on an object is itself a result of other causes and conditions. And these are constantly shifting and changing and pulling on each other. So there's no fixed position anywhere. There's constant change and flux. And reality is, rather than see it as a constellation of fixed points or entities, it's best seen as a kind of a flow, as a pattern, as things changing and moving without anywhere any fixed position. Sometimes there's an appearance of a fixed continuity, but this is illusory. It's only a shifting, changing phenomena. A good analogy is in a stream of water. You sometimes get these little whirlpools, little eddies in the water, and they can have the appearance. They might last for hours or even days. And they have the appearance of a fixed object, of an entity. But in reality, molecules of water are constantly moving in and moving out. And there's only the pattern that has a limited existence in time. And obviously, an eddy in a stream is a result of causes and conditions. The slope of the stream bed, the volume of the water, the actions of the wind, and so on. Then anatta, or emptiness or not self, is very directly related to conditionality. One of the phrases that expresses the idea of the emptiness of entities is that nothing exists from its own side. I've always liked that phrase. I encountered it in a book on Tibetan Buddhism. Nothing exists from its own side. So nothing exists in it and of itself. It's only a reflection of other things. It's only seen from the outside as being having the appearance of an entity. From the inside, there's nothing. So nothing exists from its own side, only from outside. So there's this constant interplay. You see the world as a matrix of interplaying vectors of force, and these forces themselves are empty, without substantiality. Emptiness, as in the conception of sunya or sunyata, is the great emptiness. Another phrase from Tibetan Buddhism is the full emptiness. And the Tibetan Buddhists like this, like to use imagery like this. They compare or relate the sunyata to a womb, the womb of reality. Just as the womb in a female human or animal is an empty space, but it has the potential of creation. So a sunya, or the void, because nothing is manifest, everything is possible. This is the full emptiness, meaning that it, in the emptiness itself, in the sunya, anything is possible. It's infinite possibility. But as soon as something becomes manifest in space and time, an object or an entity, then it's in a sense broken. This is another aspect of dukkha. It no longer has this. It's given up this full potentiality. It's now only a broken shard of reality. And it has an ephemeral, transient existence before it returns back to the void from which it came. And just as in the Tibetan analogy of a womb, the womb remains barren until it's fertilized by the male principle, and this is in Tibetan Buddhism represented by the lightning flash of the dorje, which enters the sunya as a flash of consciousness. This, I think, is an interesting and powerful parallel to the physical scientific idea of reality as a probability field that is only collapsed by the observer. So there's the flash of consciousness into the infinite potentiality and reduces it to an actual occurrence. The wave becomes a particle. So this conditionality has universal application to the three characteristics, and the three characteristics are in themselves all an expression of conditionality. So I'm going to leave it at that. I've made an attempt to express the idea of the three characteristics in terms of conditionality, and I'll leave it at that for the formal remarks, and we'll see if anybody has questions, they can type them into the chat and keep going for a while. Okay, I'm not seeing anything as yet. I'll give it a couple of minutes. Okay, here we go. Do the three characteristics. So the three characteristics is about entropy. Yeah, entropy is would be another physical characteristic that I could say would apply at least to anicca and dukkha. That you could see that the unraveling of order and returning to disorder that's implied by entropy is definitely a way of expressing the concept of dukkha, that things tend to break up, but also impermanence, that things are moving through time and becoming other. Interestingly, too, I would say that the factor of consciousness allows us to somewhat go against entropy, to create order out of chaos. It's a potential only in with consciousness. Somehow the whirlpool analogy reminds me of a black hole in space. Yes, yeah, that's. I've thought about that too. The galaxy we live in has a black hole, a massive black hole at the center, and it has that spiral shape that we're all familiar with because it's like a you pull the plug in a bathtub, the pattern that the water makes as it goes down the drain. So our galaxy is circling the drain, which is, impermanence on the galactic scale. It's being sucked into the black hole. What is the practical use of meditation on this? Well, that's really the key factor in any kind of vipassana meditation is seeing the three characteristics in the phenomena that arise, and to allow us to transcend the conditioned realm. First, we have to understand it, and then we're able to release from it, to let it go. We attach to it because we have illusions of things being permanent or desirable or substantial. But when we see them all as just reflections of impermanence and emptiness and suffering, then it's easier to let them go and allow the mind to make that leap into the unconditioned. Is nama-rupa contemplation, independent origination, the same contemplation as the five aggregates? Basically, yes. Nama-rupa in the formula of the Paticca Samuppada refers specifically to the three. It doesn't refer to the whole five aggregates. In some contexts, it might, but the three aggregates of feeling, perception, and mental formations, because the other two are covered elsewhere. The monks are allowed to smoke cigarettes. Would this be a sense desire? Ajahn was considered to be arahant, and I read that he smoked cigarettes. Would not be sense desire, since clinging is at present in arahant. Would an arahant smoke cigarettes? Oh yeah, Ajahn Mun did, and Ajahn Chah did for a while, but then he quit. But Ajahn Mun, as far as I know, he died still as a smoker. But he was not so attached to them. There is one story in his biography that a layperson offered him some cigarettes, and Ajahn once said, "Do these belong to you?" He says, "Well, these they belong to me and to my friend. We shared in buying the pack." And he was offering like a half pack of cigarettes, and Ajahn once said, "Well, I can't accept them until you go and clear it with your friend." So it shows, a lucid, not an overwhelming detachment. I think that you could say an arahant is capable of enjoying experience, but he doesn't experience craving as such. Okay, I think we'll take a leave now for this week, and we'll be back again, same time, same place, next Thursday, and we'll deal with something else.